In this video, I'll teach you guys one of the laziest ways to build cities in Songs of Syx. This method simplifies the process of building your city by quite a lot, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy. Now, I'm going to start off with the title of First of Name to speed up the video. This enables me to have a starting population of about 50 and get some technology points so I can unlock buildings faster, so you can see that everything can fit into place. Well, mostly. But you can choose any title you want, it still won't matter. Same thing goes for the race as well, but it also depends if they enjoy round buildings or not. This method relies on a very consistent grid, where you can have 4 different types of zones. These zones being residential, agricultural, industrial, and services. I'm going to choose Pastures as my starting race and the random location to start off on. The first thing you're gonna do is to work out the dimensions of the grid and each square. So the first thing you're gonna do is place down 3 homes right next to each other, then build a 4th one with a wall separating it from the other 3. Then mirror what you just built on the other side with a 1 tile wall between them. After this, build a road around it, and that should be your grid. In this city, the grid should enable people to walk in a straight line. The good thing about this approach is that every time you need to expand housing, you don't need to copy and paste hearths, wells, markets, food stalls, and other services along with that. You kind of have more control over how you spread your services out. Once you've copied and pasted a few squares around, then build a block for some services. As you can also see, I've dotted some walls around the edges of this block as well. This will be for adding in decorations later once you've got the resources to do so. And it also depends on what race you play, so for Dondorians this will be statues and columns, whereas for Talapi it would just be trees and flowers, and for Garthemi it will just be humidifiers. With this setup, all services have a 1 wide road surrounding them. Services such as the hearth, well, speaker, guard post, decorations, and mass grave. Again, I'm just using these dimensions to fit out everything neatly. I've tested different square sizes to see what can fit and what can't. I'm pretty sure there are better dimensions out there, but this one works well. This block will probably be copied and pasted a lot too, as hearth and wells are used to improve health and are genuinely in higher demand. The next block I will make will be for the fight pit and haulers. Most races enjoy the fight pit, but it has a very large radius, so you only probably need to build 1 per settlement. Same goes for the haulers. You probably only need to build 1 for an entire area. For example, 1 settlement may be really good at making furniture or gathering wood, so this zone will be really good at preventing the need to localize producing timber or furniture or any other product such as cut stone. Oh yeah, make sure this is placed near your warehouses and industrial buildings for close proximity. Moving on, we have the last open air services block for stages, shrines, food stalls, and markets. Again, these don't need to be built too much, as these services have a large range and it can access quite a lot of people, but it's not as far reaching as the fight pit. So maybe you'll need to build 2 or 3 of these per settlement, depending on how large the settlement gets. The issue with markets and food stalls is that they'll always need a small but consistent amount of furniture, cut stone, and pottery, especially if you upgrade them. So make sure to spread these around for better proximity to your local population, but make sure they're also in range of the hauler area and janitor. Speaking of janitors, the next block will need to be split up in half, as you cannot fit identical rows of industrial buildings of the same size into 1 block. All settlements will need a function and a production line, so warehouses, janitors, and toilets are needed in all of them. For this, janitors and toilets will be 3 tiles wide inside, and warehouses will be 5 tiles wide inside, so that you have an even split, dividing the block into 2. On the other side of the block, you can place down industries such as a tailor or carpenter. Just make sure that the interior space is 4 tiles wide. The good thing about all of this is that you can just copy and paste them whenever you feel like it, or whenever there's demand to expand industries. And by doing this, you can see that all your industrial buildings will fit perfectly into one block. Just remember to have the 1 tile wide road in the middle, otherwise you'll just get messy walls that are 2 tiles wide, and no one wants to see a messy wall. However, this unfortunately means you have to place down a janitor and toilets every time you expand storage, so keep that in mind if you're planning to stick to these rules, I guess. Moving on to pastures, over here I took up 4 squares and left a gap on one of the shorter sides for canals. This is so that the amount of workers is less than 15, because if you have, for example, 15.2 workers, it'll actually employ 16, meaning that you'll have a worker that's just there doing 20% of the work the whole time. I probably should have stated this earlier, but don't make the size of these pastures too small, or 1 square, as this will increase the number of collection points, thus increasing the amount of people needed to carry items per day. And you don't want to have warehouses with a lot of workers. Oh yeah, feel free to build larger industrial buildings in the future once you're in a good position. This will also reduce the amount of collection areas inside each warehouse, meaning that each trip to the warehouse is reduced, as there's not so many storage areas within workshops. And yeah, for races who get fulfillment boosts from round buildings, you can also build your own custom design for the housing zones. You can also throw trees and other decorations if you want. It's up to you. For farming, however, there's no single point of collection, so feel free to make these 1 square in size. If you have resources scattered around the map like me, then your next step is to copy and paste the first 6 blocks you've just built. These are essential. In my case, my ore and coal were far away from each other, so it would make sense to build 2 separate settlements to collect these and then transport them to be smelted. Everything should work as well as the first settlement, and you can even produce food locally. Since furniture and timber production are far away, you will need to add in a hauler for each item in the settlement. So the 2x1 gaps I've left out earlier, you can place down your haulers there. There should be enough space over time. You can even add 1 more for stone, but in my case I had plenty of stone lying around, so I didn't need to transport all of this. As you can also see, I've copied and pasted some pre-made housing blocks too. Everything should fit within the squares. Right now I'm placing down some ore and coal mines. As you can also see, items are being transported constantly for building materials and maintenance. Over here I've noticed that furniture was running low, so I just copied and pasted a carpenter over. Pretty easy, right? Here I'm copying and pasting some pastures over too. No need to design each one of these, this saves a lot of time. And would you look at that, I've started producing bows through simple building templates that fit together nicely. So yeah, I can build an archery range as well. A few things, such as the fight pit, may seem a little excessive. However, keep in mind, most settlements are expected to grow over time. Moving on to another save file I've made earlier, you can see you can get very far with this grid method, although these grids are of different dimensions. I have every single playable race here without any riots, so you can also use this method to segregate other races if you don't want them to die from brawls. However, if you rely on haulers or transports, you might get a bit of race mixing, so keep in mind where you place your industries as well, depending on what race enjoys what industry. Do not copy these dimensions as well, as this was a test run before this video. I wanted to see how far I could get with this play style, and I can get pretty far, besides the amount of brawls that were happening in my city. Obviously, using 1 block size instead of 2 is more satisfying to look at. You can consider this a trial run. As you can also see, I've reached a stage where I can also replace a lot lot of my 1x1 walls with decorations too. Being able to fit everything in place has made the process of city building much faster. Feel free to come up with your own block designs, and heck, even dimensions as well. It's up to you, as long as the same principles are still there. Otherwise you'll just get a lot of buildings that are degrading and whatnot. Anyways, I hope you guys have found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya!